We saw all these people behind the fence, looking out, hanging onto the wire, and looking out because they were anxious to know who were coming in. But I will never forget the shocking feeling that human beings were behind this fence like animals. When the gates were shut, we knew that we had lost something that was very precious, that we were no longer free. This was a personal recollection from a survivor of the Japanese internment camps installed during World War II. As a response to Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor, the US constructed numerous internment camps in 1942 to jail people of Japanese descendants in the US. Most of these people were innocent American citizens who had been born and raised in the US and had done nothing to harm the nation. Yet the government jailed them and treated them cruelly merely because they were descendants of Japanese immigrants. The Japanese immigrants' internment camps was only one of the countless instances of America's unfair treatment towards immigrants. Throughout history, the US had discriminated immigrants based on racial standard. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 banned immigration from China. The Immigration Act of 1924 banned Asian immigration and significantly limited European immigration. Fortunately, the outbreak of World War II altered foreign relations completely, forcing the US to change its policies regarding immigrants to maintain a good relation with Asian allies and anti-communist countries after the war, and ultimately restored the long-desired justice for immigrants. The United States coined a series of immigration acts in response to the changing relations with Asian countries, eventually restoring justice for all immigrants. The first of these acts was the Chinese Exclusion Repel Act of 1943, which repelled the series of Chinese exclusion acts prior to World War II. With the beginning of the war, China was needed as an ally to fight against the Axis power. In order to reassure China of its acceptance into the alliance, the US repelled a series of Chinese exclusion acts to construct a positive relationship with China. This act was successful in putting an end to the long-standing Chinese exclusion policies while inspiring similar acts to be enacted. The Immigration Act of 1946 was one of such acts, extending its scope to other allied countries in Asia and restoring justice for immigrants there. Ultimately, these immigration reforms led to the Monumental Immigration Act of 1965. This act was significant since it marked the shift of US immigration policies from racial quotas to preference systems, ending the long-standing racial discriminations in immigration policies and replacing it with a standard measurement that is equal and unbiased to every new immigrant. In addition to reforms in immigration policies, the United States also accepted anti-communist refugees from foreign countries as a result of its clash of ideologies with the Soviet Union, ultimately protecting the rights of these people. The Cold War era after World War II was marked by the spread of communism to other countries by the Soviet Union and the US efforts to contain it, since the US feared that more and more countries would turn into communists, as predicted by the domino theory. Hungary was one of the battlefields of the clash between ideologies, in which the Hungarian rebels failed to resist the country from succumbing under Soviet control, resulting in an outpour of refugees. These Hungarian refugees were accepted into the US under President Eisenhower's employment of the Immigration Act of 1965. By doing so, the US protected the rights of these prosecuted immigrants and restored justice for them. Another similar situation occurred in Cuba as refugees flee from their communist ruler in large numbers. The US responded by accepting these refugees readily and enacting the Cuban Adjustment Act of 1966 to help them adjust to living in the US. These actions preserved the rights of immigrants, persecuted immigrants, and presented the US as a powerful and moral country internationally. To sum up, the World War II brought about significant changes in foreign relations that urged the US to issue a series of immigration policies and take actions to accept refugees to preserve the rights of immigrants. Yet, despite all these positive changes, there were still problems that needed to be solved. The Operation Wetback in 1954 forcibly deported illegal Mexican immigrants from their homes. The spread of McCarthyism targeted numerous immigrants as potential communists, harmful to the nation, and trialed them without any evidence. Immigrants are integral parts of the nation and one of the crucial contributors to America's international power. It is important to wield them equally and preserve their rights to maintain America's greatness. Thank you.